We are glad to have you back. If you're just joining us, this is Firecrackers and we're just about to get started. So the report you just saw was over budget padding. That is allegation by Abdul Nenge, which I don't know if I should say sadly got him suspended for 3 months. It was actually proposed to be a year, but after deliberation they reduced the sentence to 3 months. And if we look at one of the things that some of the northern senators protested against, that is the issue of constituency allowance, saying that some older senators got a whole lot of money and the new senators got very little amount of money compared to the ones the senators who have been in the house formerly got. So which will bring us to talk about constituency allowance. Is it to stay or is it just something that we have to do away with? With me in the studio, I have Dr. Felix Olorinda. He is a security expert and public affairs analyst. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
Okay, all right. So let us talk about the issue that, well, affected the Senate, that is the red chambers of the National Assembly earlier this week. It's something that shocked a lot of Nigerians. In fact, some people have gone so far to say that it is dangerous to tell the truth in Nigeria, although the Senate is telling us that there's nothing like budget padding. So what is your view on that? Let's start with that first.
Yes, I think I followed the event with a lot of interest, and I think there's no evidence to the fact that the budget was padded. So maybe, and I think a private investigator was hired, and there were no proofs that the budget was padded, and that is the fact.
Okay, all right. And we also have some people in the north saying that it seems that development and everything seems to be going to the south, and then the north is seeming to be left at the mercy, and then maybe probably getting residuals or nothing at all. Do you share the sentiment, or is this something that always takes place when it's someone from another region that seems to be heading the country or the Senate?
You know, the people in the parliament, they are politicians. So, and they play political games. So it's all politics, and they are there to represent their constituency, and this contest, I want this for my constituency. Of course, that has to be balanced, and from time to time, they must be true to themselves as politicians who try to attract development to their constituency. So in doing that, there will be some, contests here and there. So, but at the end of the day, they must also work for the development of the nation, because if development comes to the south now, definitely it will go to the north later. So, and the whole region cannot be developed at the same time. So it's just politics. So we have to understand it that as parliamentarians, they are politicians and they must play politics. But at the end of the day, they must be united in the development of the nation. Okay,
well, is that not the reason we have senators, we have honorables representing us both in the upper and lower chamber to make sure that every segment of the country, well, most segments of the country gets covered when it comes to development? Because their job there is to represent the view of the people in their constituency, yes, and make it known. So if we have people doing that, both from the north and from the south, why should we be having issues of fear of development being lopsided? It is more to one part of the country than the other.
I think my own view is not that the development is lopsided, is that we don't have enough resource to develop the nation at the same time. So, I mean, it's the allocation of the resource, and it has to be allocated based on what is available, and sometimes based on where the resources is coming from. And so there's this management, they have to, so it's not lopsided, because the whole nation cannot be developed at the same time because there are limited resources. And so as members who represent their various constituency, whether in the upper chamber or the lower chamber, they have to know that this resource has to be allocated based on what is available. And so some areas that have not been developed have to be, and so they have to, but they have to be united with patriotism to know that at the end of the day they are representing the nation, and they are there for the nation to be developed. But the nation cannot be developed, the whole country cannot be covered at the same time. So if it's not covered now, maybe they wait for another time. So, but I saw in all of that argument that they keep reminding themselves that we are here to represent our nation. We're here as leaders of this nation to be able to to be united, and to be able to have one voice and develop this country.
Okay, all right. And then now let us talk about the issue of constituency allowance.
Yes.
Because some people have brought out the argument that constituency allowance should even be something that should be termed illegal. Because if their work as a legislative arm of government is not supposed to do with getting cash to do something for their constituency, that should have been the work of the executive, and that should be the function of the state government, and then the state government should have probably passed to the local government. Although we know that there's also issue when it comes to the three tiers of government, that is the federal, the state, and the local government. But some people have said that it should be turned illegal for these lawmakers to be getting constituency allowance. Do you share that view?
No, my understanding of this constituency allowance is that, look, they are there to represent their constituencies. And for them to be relevant, and for them to, like I keep saying, they are politicians. They need to win they need to go for another re-election. So for you to be relevant, for you to know, to your constituency to know that you represent them, you have to attract development to the constituency that you represent. So they have to look for this constituency allowance. It's not that they will give them the money. These constituency allowances are budgeted for, and so they go to the MDAs. For example, if it's an hospital that is not in your local constituency, you want to attract that hospital to that constituency, you make provision for that in the budget. So the Ministry of Health is an executive branch that we implement it. But of course, the member representing that constituency has to be the one that will fight for it. You understand? It's not that they give them cash to say go on, but they will also go ahead to look for a reputable contractor that can execute the project and follow up with the MDA, the ministry, department or agencies that will implement it. Because so when it's implemented, when they want to commission it, they have to showcase it that I'm the one that attracted this project to this constituency, because they need to point to something when they are campaigning for another re-election, because they are politicians. So if they don't do anything for their constituency, if they can't attract road, project, hospital, educational institutions, what would they use, to campaign to say, okay, I want to go for a re-election? Because the message will say, we are there for 4 years, you didn't do anything. So because they are politicians, they have to fight for those projects. And it's not that as if they were going to give them the money. It's just that they will make provision in the budget. And so as a member of that constituency, as parliamentarian in the Senate or the House, you have to follow up with that project to make sure that project is implemented. But I think we have the impression that they are giving the cash. No, that is not my understanding of it.
Okay, all right. And then while we're talking about this issue of development, constituencies being represented, we also have to put in mind that a lot.
We are passionate about two things in Nigeria. The first is football. The second is our rice. And nobody celebrates like a Nigerian. So, for every goal scored, every mark made, you can be sure to always come back home to rice. Celebrate with Nigerian Premium Big Bowl Rice, homegrown just like you. Big Bowl Rice, tasty rice, nourished you.
We are glad to have you back. If you're just joining us, this is Firecrackers, and we are talking about the issue of constituency allowance. Is it to stay or to go? So as I was telling my guest in the studio, we also have to bear it in mind that when it comes to issue of money management, a lot of Nigerians do not necessarily trust the leaders. For example, if you are to look at this palliative that was supposed to be disbursed to people for relief, that is to cushion the effect of subsidy removal, a lot of Nigerians are not happy with how it went, because people who feel like they should benefit from, because well, from if you are to go by standard, I might be one of the poor people that I'm supposed to benefit from the scheme, but we don't really have that good data to determine who is poor, who is the poorest of the poor, and the right way for money to get to them, and it should not just be distributed that way. So we also have to put in mind that a lot of Nigerians have this mistrust for government officials. But if we look at the role of lawmakers, theirs is to make law. Would it not be better for them to make laws that would really benefit the people, represent the people in their utmost interest, and then instead of probably being the ones that would fight for these allowances for themselves, why could they not be assume the role of, let's say, like a supervisory role, trying to checkmate, trying to perform that check and balance function they are actually supposed to do in the beginning?
Yes, remember where I led, or I said they are politicians, okay, and they are in the legislative branch. We have politicians so in the executive branch. The executive branch is to implement, they are to make laws, but they have to have something. If I represent Ikeja local government in the parliament, I have to come back home in another 4 years to look for votes to go back, and people will ask me, what have you done for us in the last 4 years? We elected you. So that's how they have to practice those projects, and they have to go look for MDAs that will implement them, and that's why we call it constituency allowance, constituency project. Those constituency allowances are meant to implement those, but it is the executive branch that we implement, but they have to be the one that will advocate, because they are the one who come from those constituency, and those are the one who know the need of those constituencies that they represent. That's why they are there in the National Assembly. So I think we have to understand this. So and they have to tell, oh, I don't have an hospital in my local constituency, we don't have this, we lack this. And so if you have an hospital, so definitely if you have an hospital in your constituency, you will not be fighting for another hospital. You'll probably be looking for maybe roads, maybe, our roads are bad, and we have to put in the budget and allocate funds for it. The amount of fund that will be required to build an hospital is not the same amount that will be required to maybe work on a road. So that's why some of them have higher allowances, some low. So but you have to implement that. Of course, there will be contestations, and that's what we are seeing. Okay,
and that since, like, from the explanation that you gave, it seems logical, is something that everyone would follow through, that the development that some region need, when we look at the cost of it, it is not up to the same cost as what some other region might need. And one would expect that the lawmakers too should probably be in the knowledge of it, and then they should be the one to understand, not something that they would fight or debate over. So how do you feel like this should be prevented in the future?
Yes, the democracy that we practice is, we are still in the learning curve. So it's not perfect. So I'm sure a lot of them are learning, and some of them are ranking members. They have been there several times. Some are coming in new. So there's the way that some of them understand the game better than others. So definitely you will continue to have that until we get to this time when our democracy is so mature that they can, that's why it's in the other democracies, you have some people who have been there for 30 years in the parliament, and they call them ranking members. You won't compare the experience, their knowledge, they become institutional memory of those establishments, like someone who is just coming in, who is just learning. And so those people who have been there for a long time will be able to attract higher projects to their own constituency, because of course they've been there, they are ranking members, than those who are just coming in new. So this thing happens in all the parliaments, but I think it's not something we should take out of as if it's not. So it will add up at the end of the day.
Okay, definitely, we hope so too.
Yes.
But before we leave this topic, what do you think about Senator Abdul Ningi's suspension? Do you think that perhaps the Senate were in a haste to suspend him, or do you feel like it was the right step for them to take?
No, I think they follow their own rules, because when you do that in the parliament, they have their rules. So when you have something and you went to the media and what you are saying is not true and you cannot prove it, so so just as a deterrent to others, so that you don't portray the parliament in a bad image and make it look bad in the eyesight of Nigerians, as if it was budget padding of 3 point something trillion. And so definitely I think they just follow their own rules to say, look, if you do this, this is the punishment. And that's what they have done.
All right, and then for public knowledge, it is also important to note that the Minister for Budget Planning said that there was increase truly in the budget, but the reason is because of the instability of the naira when it comes to the foreign exchange, and that is why there are some excesses. And the excesses too, in a way, it is to better the economic situation and make things easy for Nigerians. So I guess with this, no one has to worry unnecessarily that once again Nigerians are being duped when their taxpayers' money is going to the pocket of just a few people. So